Hello, everyone. I wanted to officially welcome you to the 2020 PhD Summit. This is the third year we're holding it, but it's the first time it's fully virtual. We're really excited to have you here, and I'm really excited to get to meet you. It's been weird, trying times. I really wish we could have you all here in Redmond, or in Redmond in person. But I'm really glad we get to meet and connect this way. This summit is for recipients of Microsoft Research Awards, including 7 different award programs, with about 60 attendees here today. And in fact, every single person who was invited accepted our invitation. So I thought that was really amazing, and likely something that wouldn't have happened if we weren't virtual. So that's a nice silver lining for this event being all online today. And so while it's been a really hard year, I'm really thankful that we found ways to connect, and that we're all here right now and spending this time together. So the goal of this summit is for you to get to know more about Microsoft Research and for us to get to know more about you. There's going to be a little bit of time for you to hear from people at MSR, from researchers and some of the lab directors, and also some career development opportunities. We're going to have some networking opportunities and also some panels, such as one later today on the differences between an academic job path and an industry career path. So before we get into the agenda, I wanted to introduce myself and some of the other folks that you'll be seeing over the next few days. So I'm Neel Joshi. I'm a principal research manager here at Microsoft. I work out of Redmond. We also have Gonzalo Ramos, who is a principal researcher here at Microsoft Redmond as well. I'm the chair of the PhD fellowship program. Gonzalo is the is the chair of the Ada Lovelace program. And then tomorrow you'll meet Mary Morris. She'll be kind of emceeing the day for you, and she is also a principal research area manager at Microsoft Research in Redmond. Is also the chair of the dissertation grant program. So you'll hear from her tomorrow. She'll tell you more about herself, and she'll be kind of running the show for you tomorrow. But today you'll mostly be seeing myself and Gonzo. Before I get into a little bit more about who I am, I just want to give a quick shout out to the rest of the team that's here. In particular, Mariah and Sarah have been the machinery behind this day. They've got it all together, and this wouldn't have happened without them. You've probably heard from them and seen emails from them. They're super critical to this process. I also want to thank Tu and Ryan and Matt on the event and production side for helping us to pull this event together today. So before we kind of get into the meat of the day, we thought it'd be fun for you to hear a little bit about us. I think we asked all of you to make a single slide so we would learn about you, and so I made one about myself. So let me tell you a little bit about who I am. So as I mentioned, I'm a research manager here. I manage the computer vision group, and so I've been working in computer vision, machine learning since I grad school, and recently I've been working a lot in semi-supervised learning and one and few shot learning, looking at working with 3D and video and synthetic data. So my fun fact is that I'm a hip hop dancer. I actually started only a few years ago, but I've danced in a few shows, and actually met my partner in one of the shows. So it's something that we still do. I take classes online over Zoom every week, and it's actually one of the things that's really been able to keep me sane during this year and this pandemic. So I've been at Microsoft Research since I graduated, so that's since 2008. I did my PhD at UC San Diego, working in computer vision and also doing some work in computer graphics. My first connection to MSR was actually through coming out for a fellowship interview, and then doing an internship at MSR in Redmond in the summer of 2007. I worked with Rick Zalisky, one of the pillars of research of the computer vision research area. And after spending the summer working with him, I continued to collaborate with him throughout the year, the last year of my PhD, and then came as a postdoc. And so I started as a postdoc in 2008 at MSR in Redmond in the computer vision group. And after 2 years, became a researcher in 2010. And then I've been a researcher since then. I've worked in a lot of sub areas of computer vision. A lot of initially was in computational photography. So working a lot with looking at ways to create different photo and video experiences, and publish papers in that space and work with product groups in that space. And then over the years have kind of morphed and done more in the AI and machine learning space. And so that's what's brought me here. I've been managing what is now a new computer vision group for about 2 months. I've been leading the PhD fellowship program for 3 years, and been part of this event since it started. And I'm really excited for our day. I want you to get to know the other chair today, and that's Gonzalo Ramos. So let me turn it over to him for him to do a bit of an intro for himself.
Thank you, Neel. Again, I wanted to underline everything you've said and congratulate all their different fellows that are attending today, especially under the circumstances of working remotely. I know how hard it is on all of you. Certainly it is for us as well. So just in the spirit of sharing a little bit all the different paths, I'm going to start with the moral of my path, which is not a straight line. I'm currently working as a principal researcher in interactive machine learning and teaching in the HUE group, Human Understanding and Empathy. But my path in research didn't start like that. It actually was very, if you look at it through a different lens, far away from it. I did HCI at the University of Toronto. Before that, I was an electrician in Argentina. I got my PhD in Canada. I got my Canadian citizenship after that. So it's a nice dual mix of cultures. After I graduated, or actually while I was studying in Toronto in topics around pen-based computing, I did internships at Microsoft Research with Ken Hinckley and with George Robertson in information visualization. And right after that, right after school, I went and worked at Microsoft, not in research, but as an applied scientist in an incubation lab called Live Labs. And because of circumstances of the industry world, things can change rapidly. And my path reflects a little bit of that you have to keep yourself sometimes flexible and open-eyed and take the opportunities that the world throws at you. So through my path, I had the chance to work with engineers, researchers, designers, and I pick up a lot of their traits that allow me to see things the way that school never prepared me for. So after working at Microsoft for several years in different positions as an applied scientist, working on products that had to do with mobile and maps and computational photography and direct manipulation issues, I had a chance to go and lead a team of innovation thinkers at Amazon for concepts that were down the road in the future. And then after working there for a few more years, an opportunity came back at Microsoft. So I am what is called a boomerang, and that little loop in the center of the slide sort of reflects that. And that was an amazing moment because I didn't expect to go back to research that, as I really intended to go from school. But once the opportunity presented, I took it with all my heart because it was a great chance to learn, and it showed me a research environment that is fantastic, and you'll learn more from it today. One of the things I will say that drew me to work here is that at the 4 years ago when I started to work now in interaction machine learning and teaching, I told my manager at the time, you realize that I'm a human-computer interaction expert, right? That machine learning is not something I do, and so if you're looking for someone there, you should be looking somewhere else. And they told me, no, Gonzo, that is fantastic. We have enough of those machine learning people here already. So that told me that it was an inclusive, diverse environment that looking for a different perspective to advance things as a community as opposed to as an individual. That really sold me. And you learn more about the culture of Microsoft. I'll just finish with a fun note. If you see there, I'm a comic book fan. I can geek about the inconsistencies of comic book physics and reality, but I'll leave that for maybe a chat on the side of the Mingler later on. I want to just then to repeat some of the things that Neel said. We're going to have a fantastic program ahead of us. We will transition from here to a Fireside Chat with our lab manager. And then after a break, we'll have our panel on the industry and academia career paths. We have a chance to listen from a few of our lovely panelists and ask questions as well. So I don't know if we have a transition slide to show the program anymore to make sure people have an anchoring. And yes, so here's for you again to have a great sense of the program you're going to have ahead of you. And then I'll give you a few seconds to absorb it. And now I'll take that as a segue to move to a couple of minutes early. Oh yes, thank you. I'm dealing with live teams. This is my first time, so thank you for the all you guys understanding this. So you will notice on your email notice that you got today, there's a system called Mingler we're going to be using to connect during the event today. That is a place where you logged in and you have the opportunity to interact with researchers and many of you as well. We'll tell you when will be open. There's a special time segment to do that, but you're welcome to be there, open at any time. And then, of course, there's a Q&A. Oh, yes, thank you. If you're looking for particular people that you would like to connect with, there's a spreadsheet that was sent to you as well in the email, where you have the list of attendees. Familiarize yourself with it, and make sure that if you find a name that you want to contact with, send them a ping on Mingler, so you can really have that connection that this event was intended for. I'm just getting some cues from my amazing team that is telling me the things that I'm forgetting. And I think that we are almost on the dot, ready to move to our next event. Great. So it is my absolute pleasure to welcome Johannes Gehrke. He's a technical fellow and managing director of the Research at Redmond Lab, but he's also a fellow of the ACM and IEEE and all sorts of other distinguished awards. I won't overwhelm you with that. I'll let him introduce himself to you. I just want to tell you that it's going to be a great time we're going to have answering some questions from the audience, but also reflecting on some of the themes that we believe make Microsoft an interesting place to look at. So without further ado, Johanness.
Thank you, Gonzalo. Let me switch to my slide here. And I apologize that just at this moment, of course, there's some gardeners outside, and therefore you might hear some noise in the background. So first of all, I want to welcome you to our MSR PhD Summit. It's really unfortunate that we cannot see each other in person. I really hope that we get the chance to engage throughout the day, or I'll see you here at an internship, or maybe as a full-time employee sometime soon. I also want to thank Neel and Gonzalo and the team for organizing the event. So I thought I'll start out a little bit by giving you a bit of background before going into the Fireside Chat. And the big question that I also asked myself, when I joined Microsoft, what does Microsoft actually stand for? And, this mission is, of empowering every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more, can really be put into action along many dimensions. And that's really exciting. The first one, of course, is innovation. This summit here, of course, is about technology innovation. We believe that technology can and should be a big force for good, and that meaningful innovation can and contribute to a better world in many big and small ways. So you'll see a lot of throughout the day, but there are also other dimensions that you probably do not see all the time in the news. And one dimension where you can see our mission in action is diversity and inclusion. So our mission is deeply inclusive, empower every person, every organization on the planet to achieve more. The every is there. And we expect that all of us, no matter what our level, role, or function, is to play an active role in creating an environment where people of diverse backgrounds are excited to bring all of who they are and do their best work here at MSR and beyond, at Microsoft in general. Another dimension that I'm personally super excited about is social responsibility. Again, so technology can be this powerful force for good, but we need to have a sustainable future where everyone has access to the benefits and opportunities created by technology. And one big aspect of social responsibility, of course, is sustainability. And Microsoft really has made some big announcements over the last year. We said that we want to be carbon negative with a zero waste company. So by 2030, Microsoft will be completely carbon negative. By 2050, we'll have removed from the environment all the carbon the company has emitted since it was founded in 1975. And we just announced a few months ago to become water positive by 2030, meaning we'll replenish more water than we use. Actually, you'll see some of this afternoon on the career path panel this afternoon. You have Kristen Lauder speaking, who, in addition to be world-class cryptographer, she's leading an amazing research project on urban innovation in the space. You should ask her more about this. Let me mention one more dimension. I could just go on about this, where you can see Microsoft's mission in action, this accessibility. So there are really no limits to what people can achieve when technology reflects the diversity of everyone. And so our products and services are designed for people of all abilities. Mary was already mentioned. Mary Ringle-Morris will introduce the day tomorrow, is leading the accessibility interaction mixed reality research area, and just ask her more about the group's amazing research in accessibility. So you can see that I am excited about this mission, and also that Microsoft Research plays a core role in creating the innovations that drive this mission. So let me give you a little bit of background on Microsoft Research itself, just to frame the discussion. We were established in 1991. We now have 8 labs with over 1,000 scientists. And they won Turing Awards, Field Medal winners, MacArthur Fellows, Dijkstra Prize winners, IEEE, ACM Fellows, members of the national academies, and so on. Actually, you will hear tomorrow from Mary Gray, our latest MacArthur Fellowship winner, and she did some amazing research how labor, identity, and human rights are transformed by the digital economy. We are across the world. We have 8 locations. And this is really to find home for the best talents, but also to look at some local problems. Just to mention one of them, Microsoft Research India is looking at how user interfaces for low literate users are going to be designed. There are actually over 750 million people in the world are completely illiterate. And so they're designing technology, how to bring these people connecting to the rest of the world. So the labs, they're independent, but they're connected. And I mentioned already that within our mission, each lab works on problems that may be specific. But then we also connect across the company on common larger projects, and we have lots of cross-lab collaboration. So you can ask, what is actually our research style? And the answer really is many. So as I just mentioned, sort of 2 of them here. One of them is curiosity-driven research. And this is really all about the future. Okay? Each of us tries to envision, create, prototype, solve, find the most interesting questions to solve and challenge the possibilities. and then tell stories around and connect it to the rest of the company and the broad mission that the company has. And the second one is, a little bit more mission-centric research, where we look at, tangible short-term impact to products and businesses, where we do some amazing work in which then changes the course of the company. A recent example of that is where we have created a whole business for the company around 5G, where we're now looking at taking the company's data centers and using it for telecommunications infrastructure. And again, this whole mission and everything came out of MSR based on the foundational research in our networking and special projects units. I could tell you a lot more about MSR also in terms of, all the talent that we have, the intellectual freedom, and also the impact and influence and the amazing projects that are ongoing here. But I think I'll rather now move to the Fireside Chat and give it back to Gonzalo.
Thank you, Johannes. Yeah, again, thank you for the introduction. And we'll have a chance to maybe go deep in some of those projects that you mentioned as examples for some of the answers. So to continue from your presentation, can you tell us a bit more about yourself and your personal journey through academia and industry to MSR?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. So I think this is really the fourth step in my career. Like all of you, I did my PhD, and then my first step actually was to become a professor. I was a professor at Cornell for close to 15 years. I have always been interested in research at the intersection of machine learning, database systems, and distributed systems. So I did work on, for example, a database approach to sensor networks. It's now sort of called the Internet of Things, of course, but we were thinking about how to manage the sensor networks and the data on them. And so we learned that users don't really care about how to program each individual sensor, but they want to look at high-level events, like the health of a machine. And I want to care about whether the machine is healthy rather than the individual sensor readings. And so we worked at techniques to think of each of these sensors as like creating rows in a distributed table. And then, of course, to think of this table as a big database system. And then you can query it in a declarative way. And there were lots of really interesting technical problems at the intersection of query processing and ad hoc routing and fault tolerance. We actually went into the desert in California and deployed one of those as part of a DARPA project. So this was a lot of fun. And we turned this around. We looked at high-speed data streams, which is where in a database system usually queries come in and then data comes out. And in a data stream system, you turn this around. Data streaming in a high-speed scenario, such as stock quotes, for example, and you have queries registered with the system, which then, when certain patterns are satisfied, then they actually trigger. And again, this led to some technology transfer to Microsoft already at that point in time. This was my first touch point with Microsoft, where we built something called Stream Insight in Azure that actually came out of the technology part of my group. And then, of course, I worked on privacy. Really the great foundational work here came from Cynthia Clark at Microsoft. And we've been looking at ways to make differential privacy practical. And just before I left Cornell, we published together with the Census Bureau the first public data set that was ever released and had formal data privacy guarantees. It was called On the Map. It's really cool. It sort of showed where workers live and where they're employed. And it wasn't anymore security by obscurity that there were some people in the Census Bureau who knew the parameters of secret algorithms, but it was really a public algorithm and that had formal guarantees associated with it. And I think what I was most blessed with at Cornell was just this really fantastic group of PhD students and postdocs. I just went back recently and counted, I graduated 25 PhD students and worked with 6 postdocs. It was just a privilege to work with this amazing group of people. Another step during that time was that I was part of a startup. They're called Fast Search and Transfer. This is actually in the enterprise search space. So they gave a professor like me, they gave the title of chief scientist, but I was really chief architect and really working in the depths of the system and talking with customers. And we had customers such as Best Buy, Financial Times. And this then resulted in me joining Microsoft for the first time in 2008. So I actually had a blue badge, which is sort of the sign of a full-time employee, but then I went back to Cornell. But then around 2012, 2013, we had another idea, namely that we could use sort of the signals from Office to actually make enterprise search much, much better. Compared to internet search, You have in the enterprise, you have many fewer signals, many fewer people, but still a huge corpus. And so the idea was, if I send Gonzalo an email, that's a sign that the two of us are connected. If we work on a document together, that's a sign that we're connected. So his documents suddenly become more relevant to me. So we created this, system called the Office Graph, and became the Microsoft Graph. And then, I actually so much fun being in a product group at Microsoft. I actually didn't join for a sabbatical and a year of leave, and I just stayed on. I actually stayed in a product group for over 7 years, and it was a lot of fun. We rebuilt actually the chat service that we're using now here in Teams. Was actually designed during my time when I was the chief architect of Microsoft Teams. And then I developed an AI strategy, how to bring AI into Teams. And it was really an amazing time. And again, it was so much fun to work with all the engineers and also look at all the real problems that we had during that time. And then, of course, COVID came with that huge scaling issues in Teams. And I remember many nights where we were up, and looking at the European traffic and seeing whether we could actually scale out to handle the traffic. So these were both interesting and stressful times. And then in June, I joined Microsoft Research, and I really now have the privilege of working with this amazing group of researchers, engineers, PMs across the whole team here, and just learning about the research that's going on and trying to help everybody being successful here. So maybe a little bit longer answer, but these are sort of the 4 different steps, and what I would say in the 4th pillar of my career here at MS.
That is great. Thanks, Johannes. Before I ask you something else to follow up with that, I want to remind the audience that if you have any questions, feel free to type them up. There's a Q&A box on Teams that you should have access to. So don't be shy. Ask questions. We'll reserve some time at the end of the Fireside Chat to try to answer as many as we can. So let's go to another question that derives from that. You mentioned a great breadth of works that you did, but now that you see different aspects of academia and product teams and Microsoft Research, what do you think what are the big problems and challenges that Microsoft is uniquely positioned to challenge and to solve, and why? And how are we uniquely positioned to solve these really important problems?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. There are really so many different problems. I mean, one of the interesting issues is that, especially in these challenging times, technology is really the answer to many of our most challenging problems overall. One of the big ones clearly is to make AI really work for real life scenarios. There's huge societal benefit from applications, for example, in healthcare, education, transportation, productivity. I mean, I see my 13-year-old daughter right now. She's studying from home. She is fighting with her technology infrastructure. She's disconnected from her friends. But I also see how she plays in the evenings Fortnite, and how she chats with her friends, and therefore has some social connections. So in some sense, she's both socially distanced, but then again socially close. And so the question is, how do you make AI really work in many of these real life scenarios? I mean, one of the examples, of course, is productivity, right? This is just one example of it, where we work across a variety of tools. This is email, this is chat, these are now video conferencing, this is Word, Excel, PowerPoint. How do we integrate all of this together and make people just much more productive, and then also create the social connections that are just missing in today's time? Part of making AI really work for real life scenarios means also how to better understand how AI and humans can deeply collaborate. So I think a lot of early applications of AI have been about replacing a full human in the loop, maybe like self-driving cars, or really sort of relieving humans of microtasks, composing a full word in a smart reply of an email. But there are really lots of really good challenges as people and AI collaborate more deeply that have not been solved at all. An example is the transfer of control. And again, self-driving cars, when they transfer control from the AI to the actual, potentially still a driver. How do we do this in an education scenario? And what does the student do? And what does the AI do so that the student actually still learns? How to do this in a healthcare scenario? What does the doctor do and what does the AI do? Could you imagine an AI-assisted surgeon
And can the surgeon actually chat to the AI like a colleague, chat about the movies or about songs, what songs to play, or, what advice to get and how to perform the surgery? What about an AI pair programmer that helps me to write better code faster and that allows me to actually become a better developer? And is it more like a teacher and a student, or more like equal footing with AI being really creative? Another example, of course, is, I'm sort of staying maybe here a little bit in the AI space just to start out, is energy efficiency in training and inference. Right? There's sort of the saying that brains are maybe 100,000 times more energy efficient than computers. This will change as technology advances. So there are some estimates that maybe computers will surpass the capacity or capability of human brains, maybe 2040, plus or minus a few decades maybe. So what does it actually mean, right? How do neurons are sort of the building block for the brain. But if I look at the current large models, close to 200 billion parameters, the brain has about 100 trillion synapses. But it's about, again, order of 10 to the 5 times more energy efficient. So how do we create systems that actually have deep AI capabilities without burning the planet? There are also, of course, then huge challenges around sustainability, social justice, that you will hear later about in the one-on-ones. I could go on about infrastructure problems and database problems, but I mean, just want to give you a gist of the large challenge that we have here at MSR. And I think that's also the exciting part, right? You can come here and there's such a variety of projects going on, just because the company all has such a big footprint across many different industries, across many different classes of customers and types of people that we interact with.
Yeah, it is mind-blowing, and you mentioned this at passing, but I really want to underline it too. I was blown away. I remember learning about Microsoft's efforts on DNA storage, or quantum computing, or holographic storage as well, and the AI for Earth efforts. So people may think that Microsoft is a technology-centric company, but there's also so much more that is not just bits. That we are working on, and really blows me away every day. So I'm always on the keep my ear on the ground, trying to see if there are any questions from the audience. But in the meantime, let's continue with this track of all this work that is happening. Let's turn it to students, since and the attendees by proxy. A lot of questions I get from students I interact with is, what skills will prepare me more to be a successful, let's say, researcher at Microsoft Research? What things should I be looking on? What book should I pick? What skills should I develop? What will make me a great citizen of Microsoft Research, if that's the path I would like to go to?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So let me maybe start a little bit with, the checkboxes, right? I mean, all of you are here because you're great and deep thinkers, right? You have out-of-the-box thinking, you're super creative, you have deep technical knowledge, right? I would add at least 2 other parts of it that are super important here in a corporate research lab. One of them is collaboration and communication skills. Right now you're working on your PhD thesis, maybe you're working mainly by yourself, you interact with your advisor. At Microsoft Research, we work in larger projects where we collaborate with others, where we try to go after larger ambitions, where we try to tell a great story about how research is going to change the world. And therefore, I think collaboration and communication skills are really important. And we actually, here work together and, have storytelling where we tell stories about our projects. And we also practice this here in the lab. The second one that I would add to this, actually, which is something maybe unusual, but I've seen playing a big role throughout my whole career, is empathy. So at MSR, and being in the corporate environment in general, you will collaborate much more with people who are very different than you. So, and not only in terms of, traditional diversity, but really diversity also in thinking and in constraints. So for example, when you work with program managers who do not have a PhD in computer science, and may not even be computer scientists, they have a very different thinking, bring a very different class of ideas to the table than people, researchers with PhDs. When you work with software engineers, right, they may be much broader than you, but much less deep in an area. And when you work with product groups, they have constraints that come from customers who say, hey, I would like to have this and this feature, and therefore they might not be able to actually talk with you about your coolest and latest research. So I think empathy for the constraints and the situations of others and just bringing that to the table is also really important.
I couldn't agree more. I mentioned that I learned from designers during my path, and one of the things they say is that constraints help the design of things. So we got a couple of questions from the audience, so when I relay those to you, hopefully I'm paying justice. And I'm getting close to the three because they're a very small font. Okay, let's take a look at this one. So the first one here says, how do we increase the public's trust about using AI systems when there's so much fear about how it's used? And I know we have efforts about responsible AI, but I'll let you give some answers to that.
Yeah, and I think we'll probably have more about this later on during the day as well, and tomorrow, that Microsoft actually is a leader in the responsible AI space. And we have huge efforts, not only here in research, where we look at papers in the space and research in the space, but also how it goes into our product. So, there's great work led again by Etche Kamar and by Mary's teams, where both of, where the technology that's being developed there in terms of bias and fairness and accountability directly makes it into the products of Agile machine learning. And then, one example where I've seen this, for example, is that when I worked on Teams, one of the things that we have been working on is noise suppression. And noise suppression, you can go into the literature and see, there are probably 100 papers being published about noise suppression. So we went and read, we probably didn't read all the 100, but we read what we thought was the most important, and we implemented a few of those. And none of them actually really work in practice. And why do they not work? Well, because they're in a small lab setting, and they're with very specific types of noise. Whereas the kind of noise that you see here in real life settings are very different. For example, you heard outside, right, that there was garden noise. So how do we actually create a noise suppressor that works in for all different kinds of noise, and that also works for different kinds of people? For example, I may speak here with a strange German accent in a special tone of voice. Gonzalo has a special, comes from a different background. People with from a Chinese background, kids versus elderly people. There's a wide variety of people that we have to look into, and so we therefore use the tooling that exists in the company to actually make sure that the technology that we create are inclusive as well. I could just go on this, but I think this is one of the things that
It is a good answer, and we have a couple of more. I think that we have around 5 minutes or so left, so let's jump back right to it. So this is a question I get all the time from interns and the students I interact with. So I'm going to relate here. How connected is Microsoft Research with product teams? Are there any incentives for researchers to collaborate with other teams in the company using their research expertise? If yes, how does that happen?
Right. This is a great question. So first of all, I think, why do people join MSR? Right? They join MSR because they want to change the world. And one way to change the world is to do research and then ship it in one of our many products. And MSR has super close connections to product groups around E&D, Azure, gaming, even into C-Lab, which is sort of a law part, right, into our customer-facing parts. And we work together with many others. There are also some people now who have dual appointments. And so, for example, Ranvir Chandra, our new head of the networking team, actually works together with Azure Global and still has a position there. I'm still head of AI and CTO of Microsoft Teams. And so, in general, we have many people who have very long-standing connections into the product groups. And again, I think we have to keep the balance, right? Product groups think short-term. They have customer demands. They have problems to face, they have scaling demands, they have infrastructure demands, and they always will think about the next year or 2 years. We at Microsoft, we have superpowers. We can generate ideas, right? We can be the eyes and ears of the company. We're also free to look at problems from any direction and look at very different, more long-term time horizon. We have time, and we can think things through. We don't have deadlines, and don't have customers knocking on our door who want a feature. And we can also therefore take risks. And that means we can take risks and look for disruptions outside of the existing products. And we're agile and fail fast. And in that way, we can play a really important role in the company. And of course, in all the things that we do, we build stuff because we want to make it real. And therefore, the connection to product groups are also really important.
That is awesome. Let me segue to another question. This one is unique, and I think that will give us a good chance to talk about another wing of Microsoft Research that maybe we haven't underlined. You know which one I speak of once I ask the question. Let's see. I work on biomedical engineering, specifically in quantitative ultrasound. What are the scopes in Microsoft in this field? And probably it's a segue to work in health.
Yeah, so I can say maybe two things about this. First of all, one thing I've seen over and over is that, many PhDs think I've just received my PhD, I've become the expert in field X. I want to work for the next 20 years in field X. And that is just not true anymore, right? The way that fields change, techniques change, new knowledge gets created all the time, and the best researchers stay agile and move with where the puck is going to be. And therefore, maybe you have an amazing PhD in the biomedical engineering field, and you work on ultrasound today. But when you come here, we have a huge health organization, right, that actually looks at connections to the largest healthcare providers, including infrastructure and Azure for among other things, ultrasound. There's actually just an amazing project in MSR Cambridge that came out yesterday, where for example, they looked at machine learning to plan, cancer treatments. What it means is that you should think about your PhD as you've learned what it means to do quality research. You've learned what it means to be a researcher and how to deal with the resulting uncertainty and how to deal with innovation and how to deal with looking ahead. And then you come here and you have the whole playing field and you can use it to your advantage and impact the world. So in general, I think we hire people with all kinds of backgrounds and all kinds of from all kinds of disciplines with all kinds of PhDs. And what we care about is, are you a good fit for Microsoft Research? And are you interested in changing the world?
That answer really resonates with a lot of my story too. How to change the focus. So the problems I was asked to solve so frequently that really resonates with me. I'm gonna do a small time check. We have a couple of more minutes. It's time to squeeze one last question from the audience. Let's see. More going full circle to the beginning of the presentation. This one says, do you think the impact of your research has changed as the result of the different roles you held? For example, during your time working at Cornell versus your experience so far at Microsoft?
Yeah, I think it does. And the reason is just the scale of things that you could do. At a university with a set of students, and again, I was blessed with really amazing students. What you can do and what you can build, and especially where you then actually deliver what you build, is very different than in a company like Microsoft and when you're at MSR. If you're at MSR, you can go beyond the foundational research and actually go into the scale part, where you actually then build it into a product and then all the way see it through. And what this means is that, first of all, you see much more of the life cycle, much more of the impact of your research actually take place in products. And second of all, just because of the amount of data, the amount of infrastructure that we have here, you can just dream much, much bigger. Again, I think if you're at a university, right, usually, and maybe I have a little bit of a cynical view of this, but very often professors get together to write big grants and create a vision. And then this vision is being used to get big grant money. And then everybody goes away and a little bit and does their own work. Of course, some really interesting collaborations that arise sometimes from that as well. But here at MSR, this is the norm. And we work across AI and machine learning to create the next, ML-based control plane for Azure. Right? We work across accessibility and AI to build AI-powered accessibility tools. So this whole notion of the bigger things that you can achieve here is at a very different order of magnitude than what you can do at a university.
Thank you. And I think that is it in terms of the time we have together. I want to thank you, Johannes, for your time and your insightful answers and share your perspective on Microsoft research and your path. I want to remind the audience that we're going to be taking a quick break, and then you will have 30-minute one-on-one sessions with everybody else that you booked with. We hope we have fun. You have fun going to Mingler. From 11 to 12, I'll be there as well as other researchers. So it's a great place as a suggestion if you want to practice your elevator pitches for your research if you want, or just to talk about anything that interests you or ask questions. And then we'll see you all back at 12 for our next Fireside Chat about academia and industry. Again, thank you everybody, Neel, Mariah, Sarah, all the Johanness, everybody in the team. I hope you have a great rest of your afternoon, depending on the coast, and more.
Thank you.